Alright, hello everyone. Merry Christmas. Tonight I just thought I'd turn on the stream to do a hangout. So whoever wants to join the hangout is welcome to. You're welcome to share your paranormal experiences and your Christmas stories and your paranormal Christmas stories, or anything like that related to the paranormal. I just put the link into the description of the video to the hangout, and I also just put it in the chat as well, so you can click on that to join the hangout. So yeah, whoever wants to join is welcome to come in and talk about their paranormal experiences or anything they've had going on around their house, anything unusual. There hasn't really been much going on around here that I know of. My house hasn't had anything, really haven't seen anything unusual happen here. So yeah, anyone that likes to join, would like to join, is welcome to. I put the link in the description of the video. Come join the hangout, and you can do whatever you want. You could do a ghost box session, or you could do a something else, anything paranormal related that you want to do. So yeah, we'll just wait a few minutes till people start coming in here into the hangout, and we'll see what happens.
Hey Blaze, thanks for having me.
Oh hey, no problem.
You can call me Nick.
Nick, yes.
Merry Christmas. I don't have a lot of exciting personal stories to share, but I'd love to get a feel for the room and hear some other stories, and maybe ask some people some questions about their experiences.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, anyone else out there like to come in, you're welcome to. Shout out to LJM Paranormal, Lily, Villalobos, Lady J, Monks the Unknown, Nicholas Strode, Kim Healing, Peacemaker, Lady J, and Kaz Malls. So anyone else in the chat that'd like to come in, the link is in the description, and it's also in the chat. Everyone's welcome to come to the hangout and share their stories. A shout out to Angels Hoosier Network. Welcome to the hangout. Yeah, if anyone wants to join and do a ghost box session or EVP session or a Ouija session, you're welcome to come in here into the hangout and do it.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Hi. Merry Christmas.
You too.
What kind of sharing do you want? Paranormal or what?
Oh yeah, we're just we're sharing our stories of our paranormal experiences or anything like that.
Well, I have a ton of them. I've had them since I was young. But I think the most disturbing one I have was in 2014 in a house that I lived in, where things would turn on by themselves, like my electric fireplace. And then at one time I had an incident with saltine crackers that I had beside my chair, that, you know, how you twist it up and leave it alone. And it had been there for quite a bit of time, and all of a sudden it unwrapped itself, and then you could see somebody, it looked like somebody was putting their hand in there to get a cracker out of there. Freaked me out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Nice to meet you, Angel. My name's Nick.
Hi, Nick. Nice to meet you too.
Well, I found that story interesting. How did you react to that? Like,
Can you hear me? I can't tell if I'm unmuted or not.
yeah, you were going on and off mute, but I can hear you now.
I got up and I just went to bed. Every time something happened, I ignored it. I just got up, went to bed. My husband at the time, he was a truck driver, so he's always on the road. The last and final straw was he had come home, and I had been telling him what all was occurring in the house. And he had come home from being over the road, and he had those CDs that you audio books, and he was listening to the Bible. And he was at the very end of the Bible to Revelations. And he asked me if I would listen to it with him. And I said, yeah, I'll listen to it. So we put it in our DVD player and played it over the television. And we had one of those great big projection televisions that had a really good sound to them. And our bedroom is off of the living room. So to kind of give you an idea what's going to occur is we finished out Revelations, we go to bed, and I'd say about 6:30 in the morning, I hear the TV and the voice of the man that was narrating the Revelations. And I turned to look, but I couldn't move, but I could move my eyes. And I'm hearing that voice, but I'm not seeing any glow of the television. And it scared me because I was like, wait a minute, I'm not moving. And I try again, and I cannot move. But I'm still hearing Revelations playing. And I could see my husband from the corner of my eye, and he was just laying there. He wasn't moving. And, of course, that terrified me. I was like, okay, now I can't move, but I'm hearing this. I'm not seeing anything. And so I started praying in my head, out loud in my head, to get whatever is going on to let go. And it kept going, and then finally it released. And because I was fighting to get up, as soon as it released, I come flying up into the bed. And I look over, and he's still laying there. He's not budging or anything, and nothing's in the room. I can't see anything, and the voices are gone. So he gets up, and I tried to lay there for a little bit because, you know, I lost some sleep. So I sat there for a minute, and then I thought, no, I'll just go ahead and get up with him. So I get up with him, and it's about 7:30 in the morning now. And he says, what are you doing up? I said, I don't know about you, but I had an awful time sleeping because something had a hold of me, and I was hearing Revelations. He says, well, I had a sermon at the end of the bed, and he explained what he was seeing. He could actually see what was going on. So he was seeing spirits there, and he described men standing there with robes on, and like the Catholics have with the scents, and everything. And he said that they were saying, "Get out of them, get out of them." But he could also hear the revelations going on. So he experienced it, and I told him, I said, "You couldn't." I said, "Why didn't you move?" I said, "You look like you were sleeping." To me, he says, "I couldn't move," but he says, "I wasn't scared from what I was seeing." I was like, "Well, I couldn't move either, but it terrified me." So after that, we moved out of that house. I was done with it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That sounds a lot like sleep paralysis. Have you ever heard that term before?
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
had that 3 times in my life.
Okay. Well, but it's your husband's story is especially interesting because I've never heard of sleep paralysis being experienced without some sort of dread or fear or anything like that.
Well,
That's novel to me.
he was fascinated with what he was watching at the end of the bed. It didn't bother him. See, I couldn't see anything. He was seeing things. I was just hearing it. I mean, he was seeing the whole episode, not a TV or anything at the end of our bed. He was actually seeing like spirit priest or something at the end of the bed. He was watching this. I was hearing it. So I was spooked trying to move. He didn't move. He was just experiencing what he was watching and hearing.
That's really interesting. You mentioned that your husband was listening to an audiobook for the Bible, and he was listening to you guys listened to Revelation, the book of Revelation together. When you were praying, like, are you a Christian? Did you call out to Jesus Christ to help you, or what?
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
oh, okay, and that's interesting because have you ever heard the name Chris White? Chris White?
No.
No, he's an American evangelical, and he studied, or at least years ago. I'm not familiar with his work in the last few years, but he used to study sleep paralysis. And he made the claim that from everyone that he talked to, even if they're Christian or not Christian, if they called on the name of Jesus Christ, they were immediately released from their sleep paralysis. And so I find your testimony really interesting because that's counter evidence to his claim.
Right. I've done that once before. Um, You'll think I'm cuckoo, but um, my husband and I were in bed, and I felt like something was staring at me. It woke me up, and I was sitting up in the bed this time, and there was this alien at the end of the bed, and my dad, in spirit form, came to me, to the side of me, and told me, "Whatever you do, don't go with it, and say the Lord's Prayer." And I did what he said, and it dissipated right in front of me.
What did the alien look like to you? Do you remember?
It looked like, remember that plaster looking alien they found in Brazil or Peru? It looked like that, the eye sockets and stuff, kind of like that, but tall. I'm 5'4", so I would say it was about 5'5", and like a mantis looking thing. Praying mantis. You know what I'm talking about? It was just standing there, and the color wasn't green. It was like oh, I can't even explain it. A really pale grayish looking thing. I can't even explain the color.
Okay, yeah, I definitely know what you mean by a praying mantis. I had never heard of the plaster alien from Brazil. But I Googled it really quickly. Was that from near the city of Nazca? Do you know?
I don't know exactly where the location was. I just seen a picture of it, and it reminded me of that. The eyes great big, the face kind of, you know, coming down to like a pointy chin looking, but no mouth. It didn't have like a regular mouth. It just really big eyes. That's all I remember of it. And
Okay, that's interesting, because the article that I found is obviously not the one you're talking about, because he doesn't have a pointed chin and it does have a mouth. But what's really interesting is that it also has 3 fingers, and you mentioned 3 fingers for the being that you saw.
right, it had long fingers like that, and it had the eyes. The eyes were huge, but it didn't look. I mean, you didn't see a pupil or anything. It just looked like how can I explain it? It didn't look like eyeballs like we have. You no pupil, no iris or anything. It just looked like carved out, but not. It was filled in. They were filled in, but they were like carved out. I can't explain it. The sockets were filled in, but there was no iris or anything. They weren't black. So that makes sense. I don't know if I'm describing it where you could visualize what
I have trouble visualizing filled in but carved out. I'm not quite sure how to visualize that myself. Sorry if I'm dominating your Hangout, Blaze. Feel free to take over.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Blaze.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
See how his ski mask is? You got the eyes. Now, imagine the shape. They're great big, but yet they're not sunken in. The eyes are not sunken in. There's something there, but it's all still the same color. I can't explain it.
Kind of like if you saw a really dark cave that was so dark that you couldn't see anything inside it, but you knew, like that sort of thing, or?
They weren't. It wasn't. They weren't black though. The color of the eyes were still the same color of its face, but you could see where the eyes were carved out and big. I can't explain.
When you say carved out, do you mean kind of like lined, like you could see the contours of it? Oh, okay.
Like I said, I didn't see it very long because my dad came to me, and that's the first time he ever appeared to me. My dad ever appeared to me after his death. He came to me and told me, whatever you do, don't go with it, and say the Lord's Prayer. Well, I didn't give an opportunity to be asked to be taken anywhere or be grabbed. I automatically said the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. You know, I started that and it dissipated.
And were you able to move after that, or what happened after that?
Oh, I moved. I wasn't stricken. I wasn't paralyzed or anything. I literally sat up in the bed and was looking right at it. I was able to move. It didn't paralyze me.
And then it dissipated, and was your father gone as well?
Yeah, he had left too.
And you're convinced it was your father? Like you just knew that spiritually, or?
Yeah, I knew it was my dad. See, my dad I didn't see him like that in spirit like that before, but my dad had come to me the day that we buried him. He was in my trailer talking to me, but I couldn't see him. That's the first time I ever seen an apparition of him. Was that day. I guess he really meant business, you know, to make sure I was alert and not to go with that. You know what I'm saying? But he must have really needed me to pay attention to what he was saying for that instance right there. Ooh. I mean, that's freaky when something like that. I've never seen a creature like that before. I've seen Bigfoot when I was 6. I've seen another kind of creature, but I couldn't tell you what it was. But I've seen things throughout my whole life, but I didn't want nothing to do with what that was at the end of the bed, for sure.
Okay, yeah, well, that's really interesting. I'd be very interested to hear about some of your other experiences. You said you saw Bigfoot when you were 6.
Yeah, I was
Was
6
it
years
like
old.
was it like that typical Bigfoot movie that everybody's seen? Like, is that what it looked like, or what did it look like to you?
Well, at that time, when I first seen it, I had no idea what the hell I was seeing. All I knew was we were playing hide and seek. We were at my mom and dad's friends. They were playing cards in the house, and us kids were outside playing hide and seek in the yard. And I have 4 older brothers, okay, and my dad is well at that time he was like 6'4", very broad man, and the couple that we went to visit with, his name was Neil Campbell, and he was 7 foot tall, really skinny guy. Okay, so that gives you an idea of me being able to give you a framework of what I seen. We were outside playing hide and seek. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Hello?
Welcome, Henry. Yeah, just a new person came in the room.
Hey, Henry, welcome.
Welcome, Henry.
Thank you.
So we were playing hide and seek, and we were in a ditch, and it was dry. It wasn't wet or anything. It was me, Sharice, which is Neil and Dorothy's daughter. She was next to me, and then on the other side of her was my third to the oldest brother, Ricky. And there was a street lamp out there, bright enough to light up the yard. And it was off to my right, and this god awful smell came upon us. And I looked down to make sure. I was like, maybe it's the ditch, but like I said, the ditch was dry. And then this shadow came upon us, and I looked up, and I could see the frame of the creature, and I could see the hair from the on the outside. I could see the hair. And I just rose up, screamed to my brother, Ricky, run, and ran into the house as fast as I could. I even peed my pants because it scared me so bad. And my mom and dad is like, oh, you guys are playing a trick on her. And I'm like, no, Dad, no, Dad. I said, he's taller than Neil and bigger than you. Because my dad thought it was the boys playing a trick or something, and they wasn't. My brothers even said, no, we didn't do anything. And I could have reached out and touched it. I mean, that's how close it was. It was right there. So many years went past, and I didn't know what this thing was. I would have nightmares about this thing clear up until I was 18, and I was at my brother Ricky's house, mother-in-law's house actually, and this television show, Unsolved Mysteries, was on the television, and then the movie of Patty was on. They were showing the clip of it, and when I seen her, I knew exactly what I seen. That's the first time I ever heard about Bigfoot. That's the first time I ever seen it on television or anything. And I knew then, I even told my brother, I said, that's what I seen that night. That's what I seen. Because the head was shaped, pointed like. There was no neck, the shoulders. I have a 50-inch television, and it was every bit of broad like that, but it was taller than 7 foot tall. And it could have just reached out and grabbed me.
Holy. I've had some experience.
Do you want to talk about them?
Sure. So, about my age, like 14 or 15, I went up to my room, like, always come back from school. Every time that I shut my door, I hear like this rattle or knock, and I open the door and no one's there, and I'm just like, whoa, that's weird. And it happened again and again. Oh, yeah. And I'm still trying to contact some people from the other side, but, you know. And like, I know that my window isn't open, and it just suddenly happens.
So you hear the knock at the door or the window?
The door, like, every single time that I would shut my door, I knew, like, it was at the door, and I would open it, nothing, open it, nothing. So I thought, this is strange. And then, like, because I had the apps and stuff, I tried to contact my granddad, and I thought maybe that he was, like, there, like, trying to, like, see me and stuff. And one time, I was on one of the apps, and I said, "Granddad, are you watching over me?" And he said, "Yes." And
He
I
just
thought,
said he
wow.
just said yes. He didn't like. Do you know if that was a response to a question or
Yeah, like straight away, a clear response.
a clear response to what question though?
Like, are you here? Yes.
Oh, okay. And you were trying to
And
contact him at that point?
yeah,
And how were you trying to contact him?
through an app on Google. And like when I go to bed, I feel like these chills at night when it's cold, but I know that it's not my window opened again.
Sorry, Henry, I misunderstood you. It sounded like you said you tried to contact him on Google.
No, I contacted him through an app on Google.
Oh, through an app on Google. So there was
Yeah,
some sort of a spirit channeling app on Google or something.
yeah. And I thought, wow, that's amazing.
And you said you saw him when he said yes?
I didn't see his shadow or anything, but I knew that like something had happened, like at the start when I had those unexpected knocks and shakes.
Do you
Yeah,
do you still live in the same house?
yeah,
And do you still get the knocks and shakes?
yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Like, are you glad that you reached out? Are you happy for these experiences, or do you regret it?
I mean, like I'm happy, but at the start I thought, whoa, like I thought, is someone there? Because I thought that my brother or someone was playing a trick on me, like knocking and then running away, but there was no one there.
And like, does it seem menacing at all, or comforting, or like, what kind of emotions would you put next to those experiences?
Probably like happy because it's been like 7 or 8 years since I last saw him, like in real life.
And he was good to you. You miss him.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah, you often hear of chills, cold chills in the room with paranormal experiences, and when Angel was talking about her experience with Bigfoot. She experienced the smell, a stench, which with Bigfoot sightings you also hear about that a lot. I was wondering
Yeah.
if Angel could describe the sort of smell that she had smelled, that, or if she remembered it at all, or if she's ever smelled it since.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smell was like, I don't know, how would you like a wet dog crossed with, like, you ever smelled a steel? That smell of steel, like stainless steel. It
Yeah.
was weird. It wasn't like a skunk per se. It was more of a wet, dirty dog with a metal smell.
Yeah.
Have you ever
That's really.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
I was just going to ask if you've ever smelled those combinations of smells together since then.
I haven't even really like smelled him. The smell, like I haven't sensed it yet.
No, sorry, I was asking Angie because she was describing how that's with that sighting she smelled stainless steel and wet,
Oh
dirty
yeah.
dog, and I was wondering if she'd ever experienced those combination of smells in one place at once since then.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. It was not this past October, but last October in 2016. For where I live, it's a lot of woods and a huge lake. And like for 3 nights, I felt like something was stalking the area. My dogs would growl. Other dogs around here would be barking and stuff. And I'm a night owl, so I would stay up, clear up to 5 o'clock in the morning. Well,
May
like
I ask,
go ahead, Henry.
do you regret the thing that you saw Bigfoot? Do you regret it?
Do I regret it? No, I don't regret the experience of knowing that there's something else out there other than us. Um, Fearful of them, absolutely fearful of them, but I'm not regretting it now.
Have you had any other experience, like with family members or something else?
Yeah, I've had many paranormal like that. Yeah, I've had those experiences, but I was going to tell you about another episode of a Bigfoot that happened last year.
Yeah. I
Like,
watched like.
sorry,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I was just wondering if was that in October? Is that the same experience that you're describing with the dogs?
Yeah, this is when just recent of last year that I had one here at this property that I'm living at.
And did you have a
That
sighting? Did you have a sighting too, or?
no, I didn't see it, but I knew the smell. You asked about the smell.
Yep, yep.
So, like I said, it was 3 nights. I felt like that I was being stalked. The dogs didn't want to go outside at night. The other dogs around the neighborhood were going crazy. My dogs would growl. Their hair would stand up and stuff. And I could tell like something was like watching. Felt like there was a presence out there and was watching. So on the third night, I was like, forget this. I'm not staying up for this. I'm going to bed. So I went to bed and I sleep with a oscillating fan beside my bed for like white noise. You know, my dog literally gets violently ill. I mean, throwing up like I've never seen an animal get so sick. And so automatically I put the dog out, and as soon as I let him out, and I could see out back door there that it was kind of foggy and there was no wind, but this warmth come over my face and the smell. And as soon as that happened, I called the dog back in, and he came right in with no problem. I didn't care if he threw up all over the house because I knew that's what was out there, and I was afraid it was trying to get my dog.
Yeah, so when these experiences, were you living in rural areas, like in the country, or were you living in cities?
Well, the other times I lived in like suburban neighborhoods to downtown to now I'm in a country environment right now.
So it's just sort of followed you everywhere. It doesn't matter whether or not you're in a city or out in the wilderness or anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I've like I said, I've had paranormal ever since. That's all I know. I thought that everybody had it, but come to find out, no, not everybody experiences things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely never happened to me.
What was I gonna say? Nicole's and Blaze, what experience have you had, like, experience when you're younger or older now, like when you're little?
Who are you asking that of?
Nicole and Blaze, both of them.
I haven't really had that much myself, other than using the ghost box and the digital recorder.
Okay. Yeah, have you found it, like, really interesting to see what comes through the box? Like, any
Oh yeah,
messages or...
definitely, yeah. Yeah, it is when you do it, you ask some questions, and then you listen back
Yeah.
on your recorder, and then you hear some stuff.
Mm. Have you, like, if there was, like, a bad spirit, would you tell them to leave you? Like, leave the house?
Yeah, I'd probably just tell them to leave.
It's really interesting what you find on YouTube when you look at stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I wonder what you would find if you reverse the audio to this conversation and listen to it.
That would be real interesting to see what you get.
So, Angel, like you've had these experiences with the Bigfoot in various places, and I would guess that it would be really difficult for a creature that large to go around a city undetected. And so it would almost seem like, there's something else going on there, like for it to be able to travel like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do,
Well,
because it would... Yeah, I do.
in both incidents, you have to remember the one that when I was a child was in Kentucky on the outside of Louisville, and there was a lot of woods, And Taylorsville State Park has a lake there. And right now where I live is in a rural area, lake and woods. So the two places I was at, it would be prime real estate for these creatures. You know, that it wasn't in town, it wasn't in the city.
Okay, okay. So you think it maybe could sort of sneak in and sneak out sort of deal?
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I didn't hear that thing even walk up. I first had the smell of it, and then there it was right on top of us that easily. As big as it is, it's stealth.
Have you ever sort of tried to look around to see if you could find any sort of tracks or anything?
No, and where I'm at, see, I have a fenced-in backyard, chain link fence. So the dog was in the fence, and I didn't see anything out there. When I let him out, I was looking outside, and when that smell hit me, I knew that it was very close. But no, I didn't go out searching for any kind of footprints or anything like that. I got my warning. I didn't need to see any more. And the smell of it too, because like I said, I live on a lake, and there's quite a few properties here. I believe the only way it would have got into this area, it would have had to swim to cross that lake to get into our community here.
Did you ever ask anybody that lived in your area if they've ever smelled anything like that or seen anything like that? Like, because when you were 6, the people with you didn't see anything, right? Or smell anything?
My brother did. He remembered the incident, but he didn't look over to see what was going on. He just watched me run, and he followed me. So he didn't pay attention to what was going on. It was just really fast. So, but he remembered, the smell. He remembered the location. He remembered how terrified I was. I wouldn't leave that house. I wouldn't even go home, and I didn't like that little girl. I had never stayed the night anywhere prior to that, and I wouldn't leave the house because I knew there was a monster outside. That's all I could call it, was a monster. There was a monster outside, and they were trying to get me out the door, and I was kicking at the door frame. I was not leaving that house that night. He remembers the incident, but he doesn't recall seeing anything.
Yeah, it's not like some sort of a story that a 6-year-old makes up. It obviously really affected you, right? What about in your experiences later in life? Did you ever ask anybody in the community if they sensed anything or had any experiences similar to yours?
No, I didn't. I don't ask. I don't know a lot of people here. I'm a homebody. I had moved here after my husband had passed away, and I really haven't gotten close enough with the people to ask, things like that. You don't want them thinking you're cuckoo. But
yeah. I'm sorry for your loss, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome, Devon.
It's Devon, sorry.
Sorry, Devon, I mispronounced it. I will pronounce it correct for now.
Right. I've been listening to the stream since the start. Just didn't know when to join. Angel, is that your name? Yeah. I like that story at the beginning about the apparitions. Holy crap, I messed that up. Of your father and the whole entire sleep paralysis. That was really great. That was a really great story.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just here. I have a few stories for myself, but if you still have a few stories, you can say them if you want.
if you want to know about ghost stories, I have a real good one that it scared my first husband. We were just dating at the time. I live in Indiana. That's where Hoosier comes from. And I lived in Battleground. I don't know if you're familiar with Tecumseh and William Harrison and the Great Battle of Battleground in Tippecanoe County, but I lived right up above Prophet's Rock, where Tecumseh had led his braves. And we moved up here in Indiana. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. We moved up here when I was 8, and we were waiting for the house to be built there. And when moving there, we would find arrowheads and all kinds of stuff in the field that was behind the house. Well, my brothers, like I said, I have 4 older brothers, and they were hunters and trappers and all that good stuff. And there was woods, of course. There's always woods around practically almost everywhere I've ever lived. But there was woods. And when we first moved there, things were starting to move around. Freaked me out, watching things being moved around the house. And I would see it being moved, and I would tell my mom, I said, there's stuff being moved around. And she says, whoever's here, you're fine, but don't be scaring Angel. And as time went by, my mom, she would crochet and do quilts and stuff, and we had a wood-burning stove in the home. And it was deer hunting time, and my brothers were getting ready to go for the hunt, and my mom and I both witnessed it. We could see these like Indian braves. They had the makeup on and all that. They like apparitions. We would see them. And there was this Indian squaw in the house, and she would go and stand beside my mom. I would watch my mom crochet. Well, it got to the point where now she would check in on me. My door would open, she would come in, but I didn't see her, but I could smell honeysuckle, like a scent of honeysuckle. So anyways, I was 16, and I was dating soon to be my first husband. We were babysitting my little sister, and she was 2 at the time, and she had her own room. I had my room. My parents had a room. So we're sitting in the living room, and we're on the couch, and the couch was on the far wall, and if you look to the right when you were sitting on it, you would look down the hallway to where the bedrooms were. And he's sitting at the end of the couch, and I'm beside him, and my door opens, and he sees the door open from the corner of his eye, and we look down, and my room was straight at the end of that hallway. And he says, is there anyone else in the house with us? I said, no. Why? He says, your door just opened. I said, well, what time is it? And it was 10 o'clock, and normally I was in bed at 10 o'clock. I said, oh, don't worry about it. I said, it's just the Indian squaw. She's making her rounds. And he just looked at me and laughed. He says, Angel, there's no such thing as ghosts. And by the time he had said that in my mom's room, it wasn't like you flip the switch on beside the door and the lights come on. We had the turnkey lamps to turn on the light in the bedrooms. My mom's light beside her bed came on. He says, there's somebody in this house with us. I said, there's nobody else in the house. And Megan was asleep. So he went with me. I said, come back here with me. I'll show you. So we went back there. Excuse me, you're going to hear me let the dog out. And I turned the light off. And he seen there was nobody back there. And we went back to the couch, and we're sitting there. And he says, I'm telling you, he says, there's no such thing as ghosts. The light turned back on. I said, well, she's letting you know that she is here. I said, let's not piss her off. I said, that if you don't believe, you don't believe. He's a Christian, evangelistic raising and everything. And from my mom's door, the next door would be the bathroom in the hallway. And then the next door would be the laundry room, and then to us. So 2 doors down. He said he was very adamant. He's like, there's no such thing as ghosts. In the bathroom, it came out of the bathroom. It was the bathroom sink cabinets opened and slammed really loud. He come flying up off that couch. He's like, I think it's time for me to leave. I said, I do too. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. He
That's
so sure when he said that, but rather than go investigate, he it seemed like he believed and was afraid.
that is hilarious.
Yeah, and then of course he and I ended up married and having kids, and we had 2 children. We had bought this house. It was over 100 years old in town in Lafayette, and we were remodeling it. And so we were all sleeping downstairs in the home, and it had 2 bedrooms upstairs and a little half bathroom. We were, like I said, redoing it, and the light switches wasn't like your normal light switch. They had converted the light switch that you had to push it in. There was 2 buttons, one on top of each other, and you pushed it in and it pop out the bottom one. You push the bottom one to shut them off. And we had been, instead of taking it and putting drywall up, because it was the old time plaster and lath walls up there, we decided to mud them and sand them all down. Well, we're downstairs and I'm, just having normal activity, and my husband goes to the bathroom, and he noticed that the lights were on upstairs. So he goes up there and he shuts them off, and he comes back downstairs, and a few minutes later he sees light shining down the stairway, and he knew he had already shut them off. He says, "Did you go upstairs?" I said, "No, I haven't been upstairs." And neither had the kids. They had been with me. And he says, "I know I had shut those lights off." So he goes back up there, he shuts the lights off, and he comes back downstairs again. And no sooner he come down the stairs, the lights came back on. He says, "Now this is ridiculous." I said, "Well," I said, "then we've got visitors in this house." And like I said, it's over 100-year-old house. He says, "You are not going to be telling me this." He says, "You go deal with it." I said, "Okay." So I went upstairs and I told it. I said, "You can be in the house. I understand that you're connected to the house." I said, "Do not mess with my husband. Do not mess with my kids, or you'll be kicked out of here." So I shut all the lights off and came back downstairs, and it didn't happen again. But he knew. He wanted me to go deal with it. He wasn't going to deal with it.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, that responding with confidence and strength often seems to have some sort of power over these experiences.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You go.
No, Devon, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. And also heard that now you're renovating this house, right?
At that time, yes.
Okay. So what I know is that
No.
spirits don't really like basically new stuff, like a new addition to once they once remembered in their, let's say, memory realm. A renovation is basically like a whole entire new experience for them, and sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. And it's such a confusing subject, and I hear many stories about this, about like a property once had someone that once lived there, and then they passed, and then all these occurrences happen, and there's renovations on the place, it just sometimes either makes, like I said earlier, makes sometimes spirits mad or just they're okay with it. I know this one story that I was listening on a podcast. There was this woman saying that she was given permission to explore this abandoned hospital. Well, it's not exactly abandoned, but one part of it was being used, I think, as a haunted attraction, and the actual abandoned part of the hospital was where like a lot of stuff went down. The newly part that's being used for the haunted attraction has been renovated, and the one that wasn't renovated is still there. And she was saying how the spirits don't really like going to the new renovated spots. They like to mainly go to the spots where they remember. It's basically like their energy just drives them there. They don't like to explore newer places where there's no memories for them. They don't want to experience something new. They want to experience old things where they were once left. They want to keep it that way. And this is why some spirits don't really like when when people move into their houses, because at that time some spirits actually don't even know that they already passed. They're kind of just stuck in this realm, and it's like very empty and loose reality where they think that they're still living even though they're most likely unaware that they actually passed, and they don't know how to pass on to the light or wherever they want to head to. So they sometimes still reside at where the most energy that they have is at, such as like a house. And so they basically start performing like their regular routines while also living with completely new people. It's a confusing subject. I'm um, trying to get some words out, but I just can't. But if you
Yeah,
understand what I'm trying to say, then
yeah, I understand what you're trying to say. It'd be like right now that you're in your home, and let's say that some stranger comes into your house, doesn't say a word to you, doesn't look at you, does not acknowledge you, and just starts messing with all your stuff and rearranging your stuff and living in your house. And you're trying to say, hey, I'm here. I'm right here. This is my stuff. What are you doing? Why are you touching it? And it's in the same essence of what how a ghost would look at it, same way.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. Uh, Thank you for understanding. Hello.
Are you guys familiar with ancient Egyptian mythology and like a lot of the reasons why they perform mummification and things like that?
No, I haven't. I mean, I know of it, but I haven't really went into depth research of it.
They thought that the afterlife was in many ways a continuation of the life that they would live here, and that the spirit would be separated from the body, but that it would return. And so they wanted to preserve the body from decay, so that it would recognize it, so that it would see it as itself and go back to it. And often with the frescoes and the miniatures and things like that, they were all there so that the spirit could continue on living the life that it knew while it was alive, like in this life. I just am seeing some parallels there with the ways that spirits want to continue on with the world they remember. and how they might be upset by change and perhaps confused by it, disoriented by it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even in the Bible, it says, you know, that you're not to do anything with your body. It is a temple, and that we were to we're supposed to have a new body, I guess, after we pass and the what do you call it, resurrection happens. But if you think about what you just said, if a spirit was to go back into its body after being mummified and all that, if a spirit was able to go back into the body and make the body become life again, it would still be in the same uh, condition as the mummified, and that's kind of like the zombie right there.
Can you expand on that?
Well, I'm just saying, if the spirit was powerful enough, I know spirit, even we have the capability of uh, what is that called? Psycho tech technesis. I can't say the word. I apologize.
What can you describe the word that you're trying, like the meaning of the word you're trying to explain? Is it moving objects with your mind or communicating
Yes.
with your mind? Oh, okay. That'd be psychokinesis.
Yeah. So if we know that a spirit can move things, it can um, turn on electronics, it can manipulate electronics. So if the body, if the spirit was strong enough to um, possess the dead body again and make it come to life, then the body still would be in the same uh, physical form as the mummy, being mummied. It would be considered a zombie because you know the body was dead in the first place, and if it was to rise up because it's been possessed of the spirit again, that would be zombified right there. That's your definition of a zombie.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Another word for it would be telekinesis. I think that one's more common, but yeah, if it was animating the body again, and the body was not alive, then yeah, that's our concept of the zombie. I think the Egyptians thought of it as a reunification and a resting time. I don't think that they thought that the body got up and did those actions. I think it was the spirit, like almost almost as if the spirit continues to have a waking life and a sleep life. That it would wake, it would go around, it would explore its surroundings, it would eat, it would do those sort of things, and then it would return to the body. I'm not aware of any Egyptian beliefs of the body actually animating. Like we do see that in like in American movies and things like that, but I'm not aware of that in the Egyptian belief. I don't think they ever expected the body to get up again. And in fact, actually, even just to get the coffin closed, a lot of times, like the sarcophagus closed, they had to do things like cut off the toes. Well, I don't want to get too gruesome, but they had to do certain things to the body to fit it in there.
Well, as detailed as the Egyptians were, I mean, to every extension of the word, details. I don't see how they would mismeasure what the sarcophagus would, you know, coffin or whatever you want to call it. I don't think they would mismeasure that. So I don't know if maybe if they was cutting the toes off, just in case, to make sure it wasn't going to walk off. I mean, I think that they believed that the dead would come back, and they preserved the body for it, for that day, for them to come back.
That's an interesting thought. You know, I've never heard an explanation for why they wouldn't, you know, change the dimensions of the sarcophagus. I just know that Egyptologists say that that they often cut off the toes to fit them in. I've never heard an explanation why. I think you raise a really interesting point. They were certainly comfortable with dimensions, right? It's not like that would have been a mistake.
No, not at all. They were very, I mean, look how high tech, really, they were high tech. I mean, they knew how to make batteries. They knew how, they had so much knowledge and technology, and you're right. I mean, metrics. Look at the pyramids, everything. They knew what they were doing. Just for them to do that, I don't see a mishap like that at all. Not at all.
Which batteries are you referring to?
Where they took the copper and put it into a like a clay pot and water, and they made batteries. They made batteries. They had ways of electronics like.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's what you're talking about. I'm aware of that as well. I think they use that to make colloidal copper or something like that. But I was just asking because I've spoken to other people that, you know, they have a lot of beliefs that are out there, and they believe that certain things like the obelisks or the pyramids themselves were power sources. So I didn't want to put any words in your mouth. I was curious what you were trying to express there.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. And yeah, there was power source with the pyramids. I believe that there's still more things that we don't know about the pyramids. Sorry, you're gonna hear my dog in the background. He's trying to give me his ball.
Okay, it's as long as that's not Bigfoot.
Exactly. You would think that I wouldn't have been scared. I have a big dog. He's a mix of pit, hound, and lab. So he's a nice sized dog. And yeah, I still fear of a creature coming up, even though I know that I have a dog this big, you know.
Yeah, he sounds big.
Now, I don't mean to go off topic, but I want to just go a few steps back to the whole kind of psychokinesis, telekinesis type of thing. It's not exactly related, but I guess it's in the same exact realm. There's this thing about energy when it comes to spirits. Now, it's like not literally asking the question, but what exactly is energy for these spirits? Because it's like with energy, they take a lot of energy to be able to do things because they no longer have a body to carry on with their lives. They're just this spirit, this just aura type of thing. I was having this conversation with two of my friends when we were out exploring, and I was like, it takes a lot of energy for a spirit to do something. Like, for instance, a poltergeist activity. It takes a lot of energy to like move something without you actually physically seeing them. them as the spirit, their own selves, they take energy. Now you see that in terms of gosh, forgot the word. It's not apparition. Starts with an M. It's when they manifestation. There it is. When they manifest, it takes a lot of energy for them to manifest. It's like, how are they finding this source of energy? What are they like? What do they actually have to do?
It would have to be emotion, like you and I.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it would be emotion energy. Because when a lot of things, like if you're pent up anger, say that, your blood pressure goes up, your anxiety goes up, that's emotion energy. That's causing that effect to our physical. So in the same aspect, our spirit or the spirit would have to have that kind of energy to conduct whatever it needs to do.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's like, when you see like random, like saying you're using an EMF meter and you're trying to get abnormal temperatures, it takes the spirit a lot of energy to be able to like not really show itself, but be there right in front of you to make the temperatures go up. Now, the real question, well, not the real question, but it's a side question. I'm guessing this is towards Angel. Nick, you can answer if you want. Do you think a spirit is actually cold?
No, I don't.
Okay. Because it's just weird. Because the whole entire energy thing is that, yeah, I definitely understand how, I guess, they feed off of emotions, and they even. All right, now I know where I'm trying to head to with this, because um they can, because you know that parents, some spirits can drain electronics, like electronic devices. Uh, they can use the electronic devices and store that, well, not really store it, but gain energy from electronics to be able to manifest or to be able to do something to alert the living that, hey, they're right there. Um, I'm here with you, type of thing. If you understand what I'm saying. It's just that I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but the whole entire energy thing just amazes me. And it's just basically an unexplainable, well, not maybe unexplainable, I don't know, but a whole entire thing that I really always wanted to understand more of that I don't understand that much of now. Because I'm really into this stuff, but I want to know more about it for my own personal understandings.
Okay, you're going deep with it, but let's go back to the fact that that instrument that you're talking about is able to tell if the electric work is working in the house by just putting it on the wall. You'll have the EMF reading of electricity through your house, right? So inside of us, just like a car, what is one thing that you could take out of a car that would not let the car start other than the battery?
The engine, obviously.
Now, what would you take off of the engine other than the battery and it would not start?
I don't know. Gas? I actually don't know.
The
I
spark
could think
plug.
of like a dozen things you could take out of the engine to make it
Yeah,
not
but
start.
but each thing has to have something. What about a spark plug? What does a spark plug do for a vehicle?
Yeah, it ignites the gas. Yeah, absolutely required for combustion.
Yeah.
Now, what did you just use the terminology combustion?
Why did I use it? Is that like or are you trying to draw attention to that I used it?
Well, combustion. What does combustion do?
Uh, it is the burning of fuel in air in oxygen. So the combination of oxygen and usually hydrocarbon in order to create energy and water.
And our bodies are we're considered carbon, right? Our body, we're a
Yeah,
carbonated.
we're organic. Yeah, and all life we've ever experienced has been organic.
Okay, so our spirit would have to be that. It's the spark plug. Even it, even with TVs or anything that electronic, even if you unplugged it, it's still conducting energy. You can put an EMF on it, and it still has energy, still flowing through it even after you've unplugged it, right?
Okay.
So that would be the same thing as the spirit, that the spirit doesn't lose its energy at all. It just leaves its vessel. So it's constant energy. Though, have you ever worn a watch? A lot of people do. A watch will stop on them because the body will interfere with the watch and during the battery. You can change the battery and change the battery, but our body can absorb that energy and stop a watch.
Yeah, my mother couldn't wear watches because they would always stop on her.
I never heard of that. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. Another thing, like producing heat. There's some people, like, I mean, no matter what, they could go out in the deep cold in shorts because their body conducts so much heat. And then there's me, I get cold really easy. So my body temperature is always low. And that's the same thing with your spirit. And identifying with spirit, your character is your spirit, whether you're inside a vessel or outside the vessel. So whatever characteristics you have as in living form, you're going to have in your spirit form. So let's say that, like my mom, she was very active, but yet quiet. She wasn't a talker unless talked to or need to. Some people, they like to jabberjaw. They're loud. They're uh, robust people. That's the character of spirit. There, it would be around you. Um, we don't change. We will not change even after death.
But if you stopped eating, you would run out of energy, right, Angel?
Say that again.
If you stopped eating, would you run out of energy?
My physical will, but not my spirit.
Your spirit wouldn't?
No, just even if your body was low, you're tired or whatever. If something was to startle you, do you think that you're going to ramp back up?
A little bit, but if I was close to death, I think that it would the reaction of my body would be so small to any sort of stimulus. Like if I was starving to death and I was in the desert and a vulture came and started picking at me, I think I'd be like, but I wouldn't be like, like I would be now.
Your physical, just like sleep paralysis. Even though I was there. I couldn't move a limb. My spirit was still outraged and, you know, wanting to get up. My energy was still very high, even though I was totally frozen, couldn't move a limb. Same thing, even if in your dying state, your body physically, you wouldn't be able to move, but your spirit, I don't care. Your spirit is not going to lose energy. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, yeah. So you think that the spirit has kind of a limitless energy. So the body can be run down. The body needs food, but after this life, these spirits would never need any sort of food source or anything. They would never need to feed off anything.
No, not at all. Because think about how many energy, one spirit of another spirit of another spirit. When there's somebody, even a energy of a dog, let's say, even a dog, their energy will, you're either your emotion. That emotion is your spirit. I can't explain it. If like empaths will draw off of somebody's energy of saying that if anger or anxiety or happy will change a mood in a room, right? And you have a crowd. Let's say that we have a crowd, and one person is really rambunctious, you know, how the limelight of the group, even though the group is calm and all eyes are on that one person that's really energized and everything. So where's the energy at? Where would that energy be placed? Is it going to cause a ripple effect? Is that person going to cause everybody in the room to start being loud and rambunctious, or is he going to suck all the energy out of the room and he gets it all?
Yeah, well, the energy is definitely in the room. Yeah. Right?
Right, but everybody's in a vessel. So why would the energy change?
I guess, like, I would think about it as inspiring a reaction in other people. Just like seeing a beautiful piece of art will inspire the thought of beauty in me. I don't necessarily see it as a transmission of beauty from the piece of art to me, but I see it as an inspiration of the art to me, you know, like in me. I would see it as an inspiration in the same sense myself. Like, but it sounds like you're going in a different direction than that. And that's fine. I'd like to hear about that different direction.
Okay. It's hard to put it into and I guess terms that we'd understand. Energy, just like, okay, we have a moon that is cold and desolate, right? And it only reflects when the sun is on it, right? That's the only time we can see the moon is when the sun is on it, right?
Yeah.
And so we wouldn't think that that moon had any kind of energy whatsoever, right? Because it's not bright and it's not as bright as the sun. The sun, as soon as you see the sun, you think energy because it does, you know, it can create energy for us in solar panels and stuff like that. The moon itself, it has energy, but a different kind of energy, right? So if there is energy in well, we can go into dark matter, light matter. how can I explain it? Even us being in our body, we conduct energy and we can let energy out, like heat. Why do we make heat? How do we make heat? From just sitting still. We can literally get a fever, right? Our body we can be cold, just like they say when you eat, all your blood and everything goes to your stomach, and then you can get cold after you eat. It lowers your body temperature. Well, the same thing with your spirit, which is a spirit can illuminate. It can draw energy or whatever, but it doesn't have to. It can lay dormant, like what was it, Devon, or was it you, Nicholas? Devon or Devon? I'm sorry.
Devon.
Devon was saying when a house is being interrupted, that the spirits will come out because the house is being disrupted. And so, in other words, that spirit didn't die. It's actually laid dormant because there was no cause of interference. Everything was sane. Everything was fine. But once you start tearing down walls and repainting or whatever, all of a sudden you have paranormal activity because the spirit is being agitated. Well,
Right.
our body can die because, you'll die faster without water than you would food. But either way, that's a physical form. The spirit won't die. It's still there, no matter what. How strong of a spirit it is, it all depends on its character. Totally on its character. If its character, I can't explain it. Energy is energy, and even say that you got 5 dead people. Well, they all are energy, so they can draw off of each other, just like we draw off of each other's energy of walking into the mall or being by ourselves. Just we exude it. But what I can't explain it any more than that, Nicholas. I mean, if you have a theory, go ahead.
To be honest, I'm much more interested just hearing you expand on your theory because I guess I've never really, like the way that you talk about is emotion as an energy. I've never really thought of it that way. I've thought of it as more of a catalyst for almost using energy. I've never really considered it an energy myself in terms of like a power source. Like I would never think that you could feed a power plant with anger or resentment or happiness. But I think you could certainly motivate a human being with those things, or any sort of a sentient spirit with those emotions. And so when I think about the word energy, I think about things like the acceleration of molecules and that sort of thing. And so I guess I'm just trying to get past my own barriers about the way that I think of these words and just trying to understand your position better. Honestly, I think, especially in the context of this hangout, your position is far more interesting than mine.
I appreciate that. Well, I know that there's some people that, like, okay, I can give you an example. My mom was the disciplinary of the house. My dad, he was a loud man. He was a big man, His voice, he could just raise his voice and it would upset me, like, oh no, the emotion of it. would upset me worse than my mom yelling. Just like that's the alpha. I mean, they've done studies of that. What would you be more afraid of, a lion roar or a dog bark growling? You know, there's
Definitely a lion, yeah.
Yeah. So that energy that of that the roar, I mean, that's energy. Sound is energy. Sound is an energy, just like music. Some music can put you to sleep. Some music will make you get up and want to dance, even if you didn't want to dance. You got to move. It makes your body have to do something. You know, that's energy. How can I it's hard to explain. People think that energy has to be a motion, a physical motion of things to create the energy. Well, if the Earth is spinning, that's you know, the Earth is constantly causing energy if it's spinning, right? It's in motion. Everything's in motion. But even when you're sleeping, you're dreaming. Well, that's going to cause emotion during your sleep. So has anybody ever been to sleep and they're having a fight or some kind of thing in their dream and they're kicking the bed or the person next to them or something? Well, it's you know, why would your body go into that kind of motion over a dream? Why wouldn't your body just stay still in a dream? Because your spirit, and some people think that when you go into your dream state, you're in a different dimension, as when you're in your awake consciousness or your sleep consciousness. Those are two different realms. But yet, I mean, everything's energy. I can't explain it. Some are high frequency and some are low frequency. But let somebody get angry, you're going to know that energy. I mean, instinctively. You're either going to cower or you're going to run or you're going to stand and you're going to fight, and your energy is going to go up just as high as that person's is, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've heard people talk about the dream realm as another realm. Sometimes I've heard it referred to as the astral plane. And if that really is another plane of existence where we're traveling to, then it would make sense that we could transmit energy or be a conduit for energy in that way. Do you think that spirits that exist in this life that have passed on ever exist in the astral plane?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another experience. When I was a child, I could astroplane. I could leave my body. I would only glide about 2 or 3 feet off of the ground, but glide. And I could go through the walls and all that. And I used to go to my neighbor's house and visit with them. I never had been in their house during wig time. I was never allowed in nobody's house. And their yard was right. I lived on a dead end street. So where my backyard would go out, their backyard crossed my backyard. And they had a fence and yard. They'd stay in their yard and I'd stay in mine, and I got to play with them. Don't ask me how I did it. I don't know how I did it. I just started doing it. And then I realized I could go through walls. And I left the house, went and seen my friends, you know, and went into their home, seen their bedrooms and stuff. And then the next day I would go up to the bus stop and told them that I'd come and visit them while they were sleeping. They didn't believe me, of course. They thought I was nuts. So they started doing stuff in their bedrooms. And I would see what they were doing. Like, they changed beds. There was 3 little girls. There was Robin, Margaret, and Jennifer that lived in the house. And they had really long hair and stuff. And now I would never know it because I never seen them in their night clothes or anything like that. But if you ever watched Little House on the Prairie, where they had those little caps on their head when they went to bed,
Yeah, yeah.
those girls had them, and I wouldn't have known that unless I seen them. So I went to the bus stop and I told them what they wore to bed and everything, and I told them they switched beds on me, trying to see if I had actually been in their bedroom, and I had seen it. So, but I told my mom, I was like, I can fly, I can fly. She didn't believe me, of course, but those were pretty cool experiences. And then when I was 19, I had just had my daughter, and we lived in this house that was my first husband. I told you didn't believe in ghosts, right? We were living in the family homestead. It was his great great grandparents' land, and it was on 80 acres. And the original house was a log cabin, and they had torn the log cabin down, and they built a house on the same uh, foundation or whatever you want to call it. Well, we're in the house. In this house, you could walk in from the back door. You come in, and that's the kitchen. And then straight ahead of you, there was the basement entrance, and then to your left was a bedroom. I could go into that bedroom to the left and come back out of that bedroom into like a hallway where the bathroom was and another bedroom. And then I could take a right, and there was another stairway going upstairs of the house. But I'd be in the dining room. Now, once in the dining room, if I take a right, I'm back into the kitchen. So there, you could go through the kitchen all the way around, and then I could go into the living room, and then go into the bedroom, and then come through that bedroom into another bedroom, back into the hallway where the bathroom is, okay? To give you a layout, every room you could go all the way through the house, okay? We're in that house. This is 29 years ago. My daughter's 29 now. She was only 2 months old. Where the bedroom I slept in front of the house, her room was right next to mine, and my headboard of the bed, which was a waterbed at the time, was a door, and she was just on the other side of that wall. I'm laying in bed. My husband got up and went to work, and next thing I know, I'm on the ceiling looking down to an empty bed, and I look at the clock, and it said 6:30. Now I'm being taken through from the bedroom to the living room, staying on the ceiling now, and then dipping down, going through the doorway into the dining room, going to the right, dipping down into that little hallway, dipping down again into the doorway of the bedroom where my daughter is, and I'm over her, and I'm looking straight at her. She's in the closet. I had put her in her pajamas that night and sleeping on her right side. I look at her, and then all of a sudden, I'm flying, I mean, fast, back through the way I came, back through all the way back to my bedroom, and I'm looking at my bed, and I come down, drop, bam, hit so hard, and the bed just waved really, really hard, and I grabbed the telephone. I was going to call my mom. And I was like, wait a minute, she didn't believe me when I was a kid. She's not going to believe this. And I looked at the clock, and it said 6:35. My daughter's screaming because I guess when I hit the bed, it woke her up, and she started screaming and crying. And I went to get up, and I couldn't get up because when I hit the bed, I slammed my leg really bad. So, strange things. I've had a lot of strange things happen in my life. But I didn't have control of that, and that scared me worse than anything, not having control like that. So I started drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes because I was like, my body's too pure. I do not want to do that again.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Interesting. And that you saying about you like flying and going to your neighbor's house and seeing what your neighbors were wearing. I never heard that before. That's it's really interesting. That's actually, to me, that's actually kind of cool, but that's really interesting. I never heard anything like that before.
I've heard of out of big body experiences similar to that. And there's remote viewing projects that the American and Soviet governments put a lot of money in the 50s and 60s. And there's also stories that I haven't looked into about people that have died, especially in like hospital situations and things like that. And they have this experience where they are leaving their body and seeing these other things, and then they come back and they report strange situations that they should have no way of knowing, like conversations that were going on in other rooms or miles away, or strange objects that were not perceivable, like for instance an old shoe on top of a radiator, like on a strange floor of the building that nobody could see. Weird evidence that these things are not just a matter of imagination.
Yeah, I definitely heard about that before.
I'm gonna have to get going in about 15 minutes.
All right, Blaze. Well, thanks for hosting this hangout. It was very interesting.
Yeah, no problem.
I like to, I guess, give some stories of my own. If you guys haven't known, I'm a part of Among the Unknown. I am in the chat. You must have saw me. I mean, you may have saw me. So we explore abandoned places in my city. It's a group of me and two of my friends, and this guy who watches our videos, he messaged us on our Facebook page, telling us about this hotel, this abandoned hotel that him and two friends have explored. Now they're doing this for photography sake, not for like urban exploring type of thing. It was just basically photography. So this guy, he was telling me how everything was all fine in the building. His friends didn't experience anything. He didn't experience anything. The only weird part was, I think on the second floor, they were hearing thumps coming from the ceiling off of the third floor coming above them. Now, these weren't like water thumps; they were like footsteps type of thumps, and it was unexplainable. And they went up, and there was no one there. But basically, for what he was telling me was that everything in that building was okay until they hit down to the basement. And with the basement, his friends stayed back. His friends were too afraid to go with him, and so he explored the basement by himself. So he's just there in the basement, and you obviously get those goofy graffiti artists that spray like pentagrams on the wall or 666 or "you're dead now" type of thing, and that's what was on the walls. And he was saying that he heard voices and footsteps, like running footsteps, in the basement area. And he asked his friend. He felt like someone was actually coming towards him too, and so he asked his friends if they were making any noises, and they said no, they were completely silent. And so I think like 2 or 3 days went by, and he started developing 3 deep, like, looked like it was in the skin, scratches on his thigh. And he showed me the picture, and he told me all about this experience that he had. And so I was like, all right, I'll hit up my crew. We're gonna go. We'll explore this place for you, and we'll report back. So we're there, and we hear the thumps as well. And me and my other investigator, Morgan, we stay back as PJ, who's filming our video, is exploring it by himself to see like who's up on the third floor, and he sees nothing. He actually goes all the way down the hall and comes back, and we didn't even hear like his footsteps or even voices from him. We're just completely oblivious of where he actually is, as we're down on the second floor. And so he comes back. He's like, "Dude, I saw no one there." I'm like, "That's weird," because we were all hearing thumps, like footsteps coming the floor above us. And so I'm telling all my viewers in the video that like this is kind of like an important episode, and conveniently, maybe conveniently or coincidentally, there was a plaque on the floor that had it had Jesus on it. So I was like, maybe we should use this. We're gonna explore the building first and then hit up the basement last, since that's where the guy said that he got like the most experiences from. So me, I forgot all about the plaque. I had it in my book bag. So I'm doing a spirit box session. I wasn't using a regular EVP recorder. So we're just going through the basement. Now there's corridors, but they all lead to the same exact area. And we also saw the graffiti, which was like the pentagrams and the 666 and "You're dead now." So as we're going through the corridors, the speaker on my spirit box gets like loud, unexplainably, and it never happened before. And so we thought that it was probably like metal or like or something around us, and it wasn't. Plus, if that would have happened, we would have experienced that previously with all of our explorations that we have ever went to, because they were very similar to the building. So I'm sitting here, and there's not sitting here, but as we're walking, there's like a hole in the wall that leads to a room. And so I'm just asking questions, and I'm sitting here saying, "Do you want us to go in this room?" And we got a voice before I even asked that question. I was thinking about it in my head. Before I asked that question, the spirit box said yes, automatically. So I was like, well, I guess that's our cue. So we go inside, and it's quiet. The speaker starts getting quiet. So I pointed to PJ, it's loud. Pointed to Morgan, quiet. Pointed to me, quiet. Not to be like literal, but we were all thinking that it was maybe trying to pick like a chosen one. And like every time I give it to PJ, it was loud. Me, quiet. Morgan, quiet. So we step into the room, and it's quiet towards me again. I hand it to PJ, and it's loud. So PJ was talking, asking questions, and we were getting responses. And he was saying, "Was someone scratched here?" And the voice said, "Yeah." And we were just getting all these weird responses, and we started getting noises from the spirit box that we never got before, like weird distortion in sound, weird like high pitch sounds that we never experienced on a spirit box before out of all our investigations. And it was just so strange that we were getting these, and it was just weird. And so basically the whole entire story of what the guy said almost kind of happened to us. So we were walking in the hallway, and there's this room that had like I guess it was some engine or some gear. It was some generator thing, and PJ is kind of like into that type of like engineering thing. So I'm sitting here not really thinking about the story. Me and Morgan, we stay back as PJ ventures into the room by himself. We're just watching him. And so he's just talking. The speaker starts dying for some reason, but he can hear that someone's trying to talk to him through the spirit box. And then it just clicked in my head that this is like almost exactly how the story went. The guy that contacted us on Facebook ventured forward while his two friends stayed back. That's almost exactly what happened. And me, I don't really tear up about like stuff like that. or really in general, and I just started tearing up randomly. Like I never felt that type of emotion before, and I'm like, dude, this is exactly how the story went. Like, get back, let's just get out of here. And so we got back, and the spirit box was dead, and I fully charged it too, before we even investigated the place, and it was just dead. We weren't even in the building for that long, and if I would charge it to full battery, we would have lasted the entire investigation, regardless of how long we would have taken in that place. But it just lost all its battery for some reason. But that's my story for that one.
That's crazy. When you say that you heard the voice answer yes, can you describe what that was like? Like, did it feel like a person in the room saying yes, or in what sense did you hear a voice saying yes?
I didn't at the time. I didn't really think about anything, but mainly at that. Well, actually, at the time, I was like, dude, we just got an answer like right then and there. Like that was class A. Like we just asked the question if like if someone was scratched here, and we just got a male spirit. It was a male voice that came from the spirit box that said, yes, clear as day. We're like, dude, it just said yes. And so we started asking further questions. As of now, I can't remember exactly kind of what we were asking. I was also asking for if it knew the person's name, and we didn't get that answer. But then it just like as if whoever was talking to us just left. We stopped getting responses for some unknown reason.
I've never used the spirit box before, so when you say that it answered yes through the spirit box, did it, like, is that you heard a voice through a speaker that said yes, that was sort of electronic, or did it measure a certain reading that you associate with the answer yes, or how do you mean it answered yes?
Yeah. It's electronic. We were using the popular SP7. We were using that, and what the SP7 does is it circles through radio frequencies, and spirits are allowed to kind of like talk through the white noise spectrum to help, say, like synthesis, like live synthesis to us who are living. And so the spirit box allows us to hear spirit voices through white noise live, like I just said. And so as we're like, there's a specific setting on the spirit box where you can go through radio stations really quickly to the point where it won't like really give out voices that's actually just radio, but more that most of it is just white noise, and just listening to white noise as you're asking questions. And as you're asking questions, you may or may not get responses, but we were getting responses. And it's just strange how we just ask this question and we get an immediate yes afterwards. And it was over several radio stations that we heard yes. It wasn't just on it wasn't like a cut, like a yeah. It was yes, going over multiple radio stations at once.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah. And I don't know if we have time, but I guess I'll say it. Me and my two other investigators were exploring this cemetery. It's called Westland Cemetery, and here in Pittsburgh, PA, there's this legend about it, about this Walking Rosie apparition. There's actually no one really knows the history about her that much, but numerous reports just know of her, and there was even a cover band named after her. Now there's Walking Rosie, who's like a little kid, and then there's an adult version. Some say that they're the same exact person, and some say that they're different people. So we're at the cemetery, and besides Walking Rosie, there's also kind of like a war memorial cemetery. Like there's Vietnam soldiers, veterans, people from the Korean War were also buried at the cemetery, and there's been reports of like apparitions and manifestations of these spirits roaming the cemetery in different like spots. There's also this one thing where like you can do like Ring Around the Rosie at the cemetery, and you can possibly get an apparition of Walking Rosie. We didn't do that, but as we're going through the entire cemetery, now Morgan never ever experienced anything paranormal. He never even seen like a spirit or a shadow or anything. So we're about to take the break. We're about to take a break, and we're about to cut the cameras off and just continue the footage later on in the video. So my mom's sitting on a bench, and she's like, I thought I just saw a shadow up the hill. And up the hill in the cemetery, there's me and my friend PJ. It was like, it's weird because there's like an oil tank at a cemetery. Now, I don't know, but she was saying how she saw like a shadow zoom like really fast past it. And Morgan was like, dude, I saw that too. And at first I didn't believe him because he was looking the other way. But when I looked at the video again, no, he was looking at it. And he said that he saw it. So me and PJ, we ran up the hill to the oil tank. We saw nothing. There's no evidence of anyone that was around the area. We looked up the little mini parking lot on the hill as well. That's above people who were cremated. And there was no one there. There was not even a car in a mini parking lot. So we don't know what it was. And so hours goes by, and all right, here's one story though. One story that continues with the next story. So we're doing a spirit box session again in the crematory. And so so as I'm doing it, we get this voice from, I think it was Mayo. That's this was this person's last name. They were a married couple. So I was asking, like, we just kept getting Mayo, and I'm telling my crew to like look around and see if we can find that name, and it was right there. So we're like, oh, Mayo. So we were trying to see if we can contact Mayo, but we didn't get any responses. So we started getting. So before we even entered the crematory, there's a back door. It's completely locked. It's like a steel type of door, but the front was open. So we were able to go inside. So there's this guy. No, PJ felt like he wasn't welcomed in the crematory. So he comes out and just stays outside for a little bit. And he opens the door. He's like, there's a guy here. And we're like, what are you talking about? So we go up. We hear banging on the back door. And we're like, what the heck? So we come outside. It's this guy's truck. And he comes like halfway through, like halfway between the front door and the back door. And he's like, were you guys just in there? And we were like, yeah. And it was weird because one, why was he actually banging on the door? Because either one, he could have just knocked like slightly, or opened the doorknob his own self, or he could have just opened the front doors because his truck was right there. He could have also asked PJ if the place was locked or not because he was standing right outside, or he could have just went up and opened the doors himself. So us just being reasonable, we thought that he was probably a worker at the place. And so we were just minding our own business, and he left the cemetery, and that was it. Like, we don't know exactly why he was there. He didn't even go in the crematory. He just banged on the door, asked us if we were in there, and just left the cemetery. So we come back at night. Like I said, we thought that he was a worker, just like locking up the place. So we come back at night, and I'm like crossing my fingers. I'm like, please be open, because we wanted to come back there and continue our EVP session. And so the door's fully open, and we're like, what the heck? So we're using the spirit box, and we're trying to contact Mayo again. And I was like, Mayo, do you want to talk to us? We get a clear no. Absolutely, instantly after I asked the question. And then Morgan starts acting weird. It was as if like something was controlling him, not like a full like possession type of thing, but it's just that he wasn't himself. And he started walking around the crematory, and he's just like mumbling, and I'm like, dude, are you okay? And I asked him about it like not too long ago, and he was like, I don't even remember that. I was like, dude, you were like acting weird. And so, long story short, um, we're walking out of the crematory, and there's a card outside. Now, this is the outside portion with people's names, and I'm trying to read the card. We hear this loud giggle. It was a little kid. We think that it was like possibly Walking Rosie. And it was a female giggle, and it was just weird. And it scared all of us. Now, normally it wouldn't like really scare me, and I was trying to read the card after I even heard that giggle. But PJ was like, "All right, let's just get out of here. Let's get out of here." Like it actually made us go back in our car and just leave the place and just leave it as that. Now, when I was reviewing the footage, it didn't even sound like a giggle. It came out as a very faint whistle. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, we hear that loud and clear as day in real life, fully, to the point where it kind of like scared all of us. But yet, after we recorded, the whole entire giggle is just a faint whistle. It's like a, and that's it. It's not even a giggle. It's just really faint and really quiet. And I had to even enhance the volume for us to try to like analyze the audio, and we can't even analyze it. It's just a whistle. But that's that.
That's really interesting. I didn't want to interrupt your flow of consciousness there, but I was very interested. I wanted to ask you about the shadow that you saw at the cemetery with the oil tank. Was it the sort of clear, distinct shadow that you would see if somebody was standing against a light, or like a vague shadow, like some smoke or something like that? Or like, could you describe what the shadow looked like?
Well, it wasn't me that saw the shadow. It was my mom and Morgan that saw the shadow. I didn't see it at all. I didn't see anything, and PJ didn't see anything. We
Oh, okay.
just ran up to the oil tank, and we were trying to look for someone that was nearby. We didn't see anything, but they both saw a shadow. I don't know if it was like a transparent shadow or like a dark shadow. It was just a shadow for what they were telling me, and it just like zoomed past like real quick, past the oil tanks. Like it wasn't me that saw it. It was them.
Were they looking at the oil tank, or was it something that they sort of perceived at the periphery?
Um,
Or maybe you don't know?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that one.
Okay, well, very interesting stories, nevertheless, Devon.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, very. Thank you for sharing that.
It was a pleasure.
And Blaze, are you still with us?
I was about to ask the same. Ask the
Oh,
same.
yeah, I'm here. I gotta go in a couple minutes, but the hangout will still be going. It's just that the stream will be off.
Well, I gotta go as well.
I do, but I wanted to say Merry Christmas and thanks, Blaze, for inviting me here tonight. I really appreciate it, and it was good talking to both of you, all three of you.
Oh, you're welcome, no problem.
Yeah, my like voice is almost giving out. Like I need some water. I talked way too long. My mouth is dry, man. But thanks for having us and me and everyone else. And it was nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was fun, guys. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good night.
Good night.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm going to end the hangout. Thank you to everyone that came, participated this evening. Good night to everyone, and I'll see you next year. Bye.